Yes, hello friends. So, good evening. We were discussing about the issues relating to mains question paper, and particularly the subject was Indian polity. So, two classes we have completed with respect to the Indian polity, and there we have spoken elaborately relating to how to go for the answer writing. And that too, in our first class we discussed even do's and don't, and second class directly we started the questions, and one by one we have taken all the questions into consideration, how to present the answer, how to give the answer, all those inputs were given to you. Now from here on we will just start the next one, which is called as our class number 3, relating to the further on questions asked in the main examination. And number 2, now the results are out, so many will be writing the mains examination. So these classes will be of immense help to you when you are giving your main examination. Maybe without a structure when you present the answer, and with the structure what we advise to you or instruct to you when the answers are being given, that will give you good amount of comfort in case of scoring the mark, right? So with that, let's begin with the question for the day one by one. So, discuss the procedure to decide the dispute arising out of election of a member of parliament or state legislature under the RPA Act 1951. What are the grounds on which the election of any returned candidate may be declared void? What remedy is available to the aggrieved party against the decision? Very simple. The question is being divided into three parts, right? So here we need to understand how the division of a question takes place in the examination. So in the previous class itself I told you pretty well how to approach a question. First thing, utilize a pen or a pencil to just underline the key areas, and from there on when we start answering the question, it becomes very easy on our part to proceed with the answer writing. And number 2, we will not make any amount of issues. So here they are asking the procedures to decide the dispute arising out of election of members of parliament or even state legislature. So they are concerned about two areas. One is the center, and number 2 the state. So in case of central government, that is in case of the Parliament of India, when an MP is being subjected to disqualification, how this is happening, or when MLAs are getting disqualified, how this is happening as per the RPA Act of 1951. So this act is again one of the key hint given by UPSC as such, 1951 RPA Act. So already in syllabus, I think they have clearly mentioned about Representation of People Act as a line in the syllabus given for mains examination. When the syllabus is getting mentioned about this input, then we need to be very careful to understand that questions from these areas are very much expected. It is not a surprise that UPSC is asking these many questions. Number 2, the second division of this question goes on to the area relating to what are the grounds. So what are the grounds on which the election of any returned candidate may be declared as void. So the term void may look like a small legal term, but English word void means something declared as wrong, incorrect, which is not something appropriate in nature. Number 3, always whenever there is a problem, there should be some amount of remedy available, right? It is not that every problem will go just like that. So every problem has a remedy. So here what remedy is available to the aggrieved party? So aggrieved party here means any person who has filed the petition, and for him, if at all there is any amount of issue, how to handle this. This is the core crux of this question. So discuss the procedure to decide the dispute arising out of the election of MP or MLAs as per RP Act, first part. Number 2, what are the grounds in which election of any returned candidate may be declared as void. And number 3, what remedy is available to the aggrieved party. That's it. These are the areas which we need to decode. So now, generally speaking, so these petitions will differ. So as I am into the practice of judiciary, I know the petitions how they file in the High Court and Supreme Court. So I will decode this and tell you one by one how these issues are going to help you in this particular examination, and how to as such proceed forward for answering these questions. Now the terms whatever I underlined, I think these are the terms you also will underline whenever you are giving an exam. You will not have any amount of doubt in these area. These are the topics which is there in your mind, and if you give answer to these things, you are done for the day. And here one more additional input which I just want to share with you is that the question is not asked based on Constitution of India. Be very specific, because constitution doesn't decide about the disputes and all. They have just left the matter to the Parliament of India. Parliament in general will decide what to do, what not to do. Therefore, Parliament only enacted Representation of People Act 1950 and 1951. So one will speak about the basic structure, other will speak about the actual conduct of the election. So 1950 will be the raw skeleton, and 51 will speak about the live implementation of the law to a large extent. And number 2, they are asking about the problems which has been subjected to the MPs and MLAs, and now what are the remedies available. In 3 different variation, we need to answer the question. I'll show you one by one how to answer, so that you will be able to have a grip over the answer writing in the days to come. So first thing, Representation of People Act 1951, that we need to clearly understand. So why are we having this RPA Act 1951, and what are the things we are supposed to do under this RPA Act? Generally speaking, whenever the section, for example, section 80A of RPA Act, sir, I don't know the sections and all, I can't remember those things, no problem. Just like that, you can proceed for remembering the content on RPA Act at least. So RPA Act has given the provision relating to filing of petitions in the court whenever there is a issue relating to disqualification. Whenever somebody is being subjected to disqualification, then RPA Act will give the opportunity to proceed forward. You need not write it is being based on constitution and all, it is not required. Suppose on the other hand, I'll give you one more choice also. I don't remember the section, I don't know. Just like that, take the hint from question itself. The question itself says the disputes are getting subjected to based on the procedure mentioned in RPA. So just like that mention, RPA Act is enabling the following provisions relating to the disqualification of member, and these are being followed one by one, where a member is being subjected to some amount of dispute with representation or with the issue pertaining to the problem on disqualification. Just proceed forward, and this is enough to just have the beginning, because if I tell all the sections and articles, you may have an opinion, sir, these questions are there and you are giving all these sections and opinion. Maybe like these sections and opinion will look easy for us right now. In real examination, if we don't know what to do, if we don't remember these sections, then what is the remedy available? Remedy is quite simple. We need to just go forward and find out whether sections are there or not. Number 1, we can't write a wrong section. Yes or no? Writing a wrong section, totally impermissible. So we need to at least take the hint from the question and give the answer accordingly, right? So as per the Representation of the People Act, whenever there is any amount of dispute in the election, the following procedures need to be followed, right? That intro, in case of this question, will be more than sufficient. Now, petition to High Court, that is the crux of the question. Generally speaking, suppose if there is any amount of candidate who is been subjected to some dispute relating to his election, then the election petition needs to be filed to the respective state high court and not the Supreme Court originally. First input, please remember from the examination point of view, or even you can take it as a matter of knowledge also. High court petition is mandatory, so we need to go for filing the petitions in respective high court. Once you do that, then the element of work will start one by one, whether we are right or wrong, whether what we have done is something acceptable or not. These and all are purely based on the petitions what you are filing, and for that I told you already we have a time limit of 45 days. First thing, that has to be filed in the respective courts. Under section 123 of RPA Act, which and all are considered to be corrupt practice. So just like that, a man will not be declared, no, come on, you are being disqualified person. No, we have some provisions where the declaration will be acceptable. On frivolous ground, if you make a petition, because I remember way back when President of India, Honorable late Pranab Mukherjee, when he was contesting and he was being declared as a winner in the election, a issue arose that his winning should be declared as void. He is not a person to hold the office, so kindly declare the office as or the winning as wrong, a malpractice one, and you please change the President of India. That was the contention. What was the main issue over there is that the President Pranab Mukherjee, he was associated with some statistical institute in case of Kolkata, and he was subjected to some amount of remuneration. So they said he is subjected to office of profit. So when he is working as some MP, when he is having this office of profit and all, it becomes a disqualification to hold the office of president. Therefore, we need to remove him. Then after due verification, it came to know it was only a honorary post. He didn't receive any amount of payment for that. His name was used for that particular institute, but payment and all they didn't do. Therefore, and number two, even before contesting the election, he has voluntarily submitted his resignation so that he is clean and he is perfect as per the provisions of constitution. So in that perspective, generally all inputs cannot be taken together. Only when input is pertaining to an issue relating to real amount of corrupt practice, that alone will be accepted. Otherwise, they will not permit these things. Please remember. What do you mean by corrupt practices? Sir, what and all I can write? See, these are very common thing, no? It is not like a matter of very tough question and all. We can definitely write. And number two, one more input I just want to share. Who can file the petition? Is there any limitation? A person who is eligible to vote, but he didn't come for voting and all, but he is eligible to vote, he can go and do the task of filing the petition. Or the candidate himself who is being declared as a person subjected to dispute, he can go and file the petition. So two issues are there. A person who is registered as a voter but didn't even cast his vote, then also eligible. Casted his vote, then also eligible. Or merely speaking, a person who is a candidate to the election for certain post, he can proceed forward for filing the petition. First point, do remember. I'll give you in a very nutshell. Number two, see, the class is having a main purpose which I want to clarify to you. When I'm just giving you some hint to remember, no, you also will be having the reading habit, because like coming from UPSC background, we know how aspirants will prepare. You will be also having the element of reading and just noting all the key facts. Whenever you are doing like that, do take some hint like how I am showing to you. Just take some hint and do mark it in the notebook. Don't write the entire story, take the hint. And these hint, when you revise and go for the exam, from there you can definitely write the answer which is appropriate to the question. You need not worry about the answer quality and all. Just to follow these things, that will show a tremendous amount of result in your examination. So first thing, when he can be subjected to issue of like a disqualification, bribery. So any gift, offer, promise or gratification of any sort by the candidate or her agent to the voter or to another candidate contesting election. So this is totally different from political manifesto. Do not get confused in this area. I just want to make it very clear. Whenever there is an issue relating to this point, the topic is very clear and crisp. A person who is giving a political manifesto, he says, for example, I will convert India into Singapore. When a man says, I will convert India into Singapore, and if you give vote to him, believing that he will convert, then that will not come under the element of promise. Promise is something where he is willing to give you some material or non-material gift. When that is coming into picture, then only this is something subjected to an act of bribery. Actually speaking, corruption and bribery doesn't have any proper amount of definition. We have a very simple term for that. Whenever somebody is utilizing the public office for a private gain, that will be called as a corrupt practice. So whenever somebody is being subjected to usage of public office for a private gain, that will be labeled as corruption. And bribery means anything. So any amount of gift or offer or promise or whatever it is, when people are being subjected to some amount of a false activity where they are being lured to cast their vote to a respective person, if it is been identified, then that candidate winning can be subjected to void. Number two, undue influence. So here there are chances that a voter may be subjected to threat. They will say, if you don't cast vote to me, I will kill you. If you don't give the vote to me, your son will be kidnapped, he will be murdered. These, if you are able to establish, then definitely speaking, candidate winning will be declared void. Here you may have a doubt, sir, many of them will come and threaten us. How to prove it? Generally speaking, there are two issues. One is, we need to have some evidence to establish all these things. If there is no amount of evidence, you create some amount of frivolous statement and come to the court, your petition will not be permitted. because I told you already, a person who is eligible to vote still didn't cast his vote, he is also eligible to come and file a petition. So in that case, here whenever he is being subjected to some amount of activity, then that particular activity what he is doing will be heavily challenged by using these terms: undue influence. So you are creating some amount of threat. So threat means by default, giving some statement in which others will be having a fear, and attempting to induce the voter or other candidates as such by giving some amount of identity and creating some amount of false and fake promises, or even using coercive methods that you will be killed, you will be tortured, you will be kidnapped, all those things. If it is been subjected to identification with proof, that candidate will be declared as a person subjected to corrupt practice. Number 3, when he is being subjected to force or coercion. The word coercion means by default, legally speaking, doing something not with willingness, just because someone is threatening me or troubling me. When somebody is being subjected to some threatening aspect, when somebody is creating a great amount of fear into my mind, then I will be having a great amount of fear to cast my vote in a free manner. And then ultimately what I will do, I will give vote to him. Then that will come under the corrupt practices as such. Number 4, appeal by a candidate or his election agent to refrain from voting on the grounds of religion, race, caste, community or language. You see, this is still prevalent in case of India to a very large extent. So don't have any amount of doubt on these. If at all these factors are being anchored in the element of voting, then by default it will be subjected to corrupt practice. You might have a doubt, sir, why these things are coming into picture. It's simply speaking, these issues convey one louder message, that in case of India, still religious factor, race factor, caste factor, community factor and language factor dominate to a large extent. The vote bank politics of India is still getting controlled based on these phenomena. When there is a great amount of input coming in this perspective, when people are being subjected to great amount of trouble, then obviously in these areas the element of voting will not be proper. See, you all know universal adult franchise. So India is being subjected to great amount of adult franchise. The moment we got independent, we have given all the right to vote to anybody who is aged 21 and above. So in that case, when they are not able to exercise that using any of these factors, he is not our religious man, he is not our language person, he is coming from different linguistic group, he is having different caste, different race, don't give vote for him. Using these factors when somebody is returning, then that amounts to corrupt practice. Do remember, I'm just giving you all the inputs. At least utilize 50 to 70% of this in the exam. That will be sufficient to crack it. So when you are giving the answer, these inputs are warranted in the mains answer writing. Then this also includes promotion or attempt to promote feeling of enmity or hatred between different classes. So enmity and hatred between different classes on the grounds of religion, race, caste, community, language by a candidate or by his agent or by any person with the consent of candidate or his election agent to improve prospect of the election of that candidate or for affecting the election of any other candidate as such. So even when you do something which is affecting others, if not done directly by you but affecting others in general, that is also enough to proceed forward and have the input relating to corrupt practice. See how strong elections are. Election Commission of India, the body, it has set all these things into mind to proceed forward and have the element of elections in a free, fair and transparent manner, so that any of these will make the person disqualified. Use of national symbol, emblem, flag to further the prospect of election or for prejudicially means biased manner affecting the election of any other candidate. See, when you use the national symbol or the flag or the national anthem, the national flag or national symbol or national emblem, these will indicate a message to the candidate that come on, they belong to some governmental agency. So there may be the voice of the government. So we have to give vote for them. This might happen because there are many prospective people in case of India where they still believe on old leader. The party leader would have died way back in 1990. In 2021, when you go and ask them to whom you want to give vote, they will tell the party leader who is no more alive. Even they will not have the awareness that the party leader is no more alive, still they will believe in that and give the vote to him. In these perspective, many a time using the national symbols, emblem and flag in case of the election which is being subjected to a biased opinion compared to other candidates are totally non-permissible in general. So these inputs we need to definitely remember, so do not have any amount of doubt in this. And then publication of by the candidate or his agent any of false statement which he believes to be false or does not believe to be true in relation to the personal character or conduct of any other candidate or in relation to his or her candidature. You see, this is again one of the very vital thing. In case of elections, when you go and give certain things, no, they start telling anything and everything. They will not have any limitation. They'll keep on bluffing one by one and they'll start making allegations against each other. And suppose you are giving some data, you have defamed a person and that defamation is going wrong, then obviously in this input, you will be subjected to corrupt practice. You see how it is going one by one. I'm just making the points very clear. A, B, C, D, E, F. I'm having so many inputs to prove what and all will amount to corrupt practice. Because the question is asking, as per the RPA Act, what and all will be the corrupt practices and how to have a remedy and what is the future option for the aggrieved person, right? So in that, corrupt practice as such will come under these areas. Such a statement can also include a statement which is reasonably calculated to prejudice the prospect of that candidate's election. Imagine a person is contesting for election and somebody is coming and telling this fellow is involved in the act of rape and there is a FIR pending against him, and when he comes to power, women will not have safety in case of India. This statement may look like a very normal statement, but this will have a larger impact. Many voters who are willing to give their vote will think, why I have to give a vote to a person who is a pervert? If I give vote to him, obviously women's safety will not be ensured. This guy is always involved in act of rape in the past history, and in reality such incident have never taken place. By doing this, you won the election. The opposite person, a genuine guy, has got defeated. He was not able to make any amount of victory, and here what is the simple reason? You gave a false statement. In this, when the person who is subjected to contesting election feels that against me there is some amount of false statement, he can come and file a petition in the High Court within 45 days of declaration of the result, and based on that, when the allegations are not being proved with evidences, obviously his winning, the opposite person who has won the election, will be declared as void. Using of or hiring permanent or fixing of vehicles by candidate or his election agent prohibited under section 25 and 29 of RPA. So even hiring or a permanent fixing of vehicles by candidate, this is also subjected to prohibition. So they are having some limitation to use the vehicles, and they are having a amount of monetary limit upon which they can go for the usage of vehicles. Just like that, they can't go for permanent fixing of vehicles and all, as these comes under the corrupt practice. At last, when they are making false statement, how much of money spent, how much they are supposed to declare, what is the amount of money spent, what they have declared, when both of them are not matching. See, because false statement anywhere will be a threat to the reality. So truth will be getting hidden and you will give a fake data. You would have spent, let's say, around 1 crore rupees, but actually speaking 70 lakh will be the sanctioned amount to spend for an individual person. At last, whatever report you have given, but what expenditures you have made, if it is not matching, then you will be in trouble. You will be subjected to a void candidate, a person who has won by using unfair means as such. I'm sorry. So here the question is all about the corrupt practices. These and all, many will be known to us, but some may look very peculiar and new to us, and these inputs are again a major reason why there is a chance of even doing these things resulting in nullification of the result. Abetting or attempting to obtain the service of government servant in furtherance of the prospects of election. Sir, what do you mean by this, sir? This is also coming under corrupt practice. So maybe what these inputs are, asking the government person to tell that whenever somebody is coming to give vote, no, you please ensure that when illiterate person is coming, ask him to give the vote for me, ask him to press the first button. Like this, when you try to use the gazetted officer, magistrates, armed force, police, excise officer, revenue officers, other than village revenue officer like Deshmukh, Lambadas, etc., then you are subjected to the element of the corrupt practice. I'll give you one prelims input also here. All government officials, if used in the manipulation of election, amounts to corrupt practice. When you get this statement, no, it is wrong. Why it is wrong? We know that universally when word all comes, there are some chances of error here and there available. In that logic, we can make the statement as wrong, or also if factually speaking, these people, when we utilize them, it will go as a wrong answer. And booth capturing by the candidate, so not allowing the election to happen in a free and fair manner. When you create huge amount of trouble to the elections as such, these are again one of the major area resulting in great amount of trouble. So booth capturing by a candidate or even his agent is enough. No, I didn't come to the scene, no problem, your agent has come. No, your agent has come and created all ruckus. For his activity also, you will be held all responsible as such. After High Court, what to do? Now in High Court, I went and filed a petition. High Court has dismissed my petition. Just like, no, High Court need not always accept your petition. And many a time, see, please understand, like we have a mindset that generally speaking, if there is one particular petition filed in the court, it can be dragged for years. No, sometimes it happens very quickly also. They will dismiss your petition when there is no amount of merit available. Now, next to what to do? That is the question which is coming into our mind, and for that we have some amount of inputs available in this area. For example, when the issue relating to High Court is creating a trouble, we can file appeal in the High Court. In the High Court itself, in a larger bench, appeal can be filed. There also, if it is dismissed, we can take it to Supreme Court of India and we can file a election petition. After filing that, still if it is been subjected to rejection, then there is no amount of hope available. Then your candidature, which has been declared as void, needs to be accepted, because after that there is no other option available. In this, they are asking some case laws also to prove our input. For example, Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narain. So in that case, Indira Gandhi was subjected to usage of some governmental, facilities where she has misused the office. Therefore, her election was declared null and void. And Lily Thomas case, I think every one of you will be very much aware of this case. In this area, there is a great amount of input. The input is quite simple. What they have mentioned in Lily Thomas case, it is very simple that there is one section, 8 clause 3 and 8 clause 4. In that they are saying any person who is been convicted shall not be removed immediately. Will give him 3 months of time. When they are giving 3 months of time, he will go and file appeal. Once appeal is there, then the person who is been convicted cannot be disqualified as a member. This section got removed. 8 clause 4 got removed. Any person who is been convicted shall be removed immediately when conviction is more than 2 years. That is what the court have said in Lily Thomas case. Women from Kerala who has filed the petition in Honorable Supreme Court of India got this judgment, which is bringing more amount of transparency in case of election to the candidates. So here, these are the input relating to the question. Just have a look on that. Question says procedure for to decide the dispute. I told you the procedure. So after the election, we have to go to the High Court. Within 45 days, file an petition, election petition in respective court, respective state High Court. And after that, when the results are not in your favor, you can go for an appeal. And even still, if you find some amount of there is some procedural mistake or law wise there is some mistake, we can just go to the Supreme Court of India and then decide about the success factor. Coming on to the next one, there is a question: what are the grounds in which a person will be rejected, declared void? I told you A, B, C, D, E, F. These are the grounds available to declare a person null and void. At last, the question is what remedy is available. Remedy is very simple. Either we can go to High Court or we can go to Supreme Court. That's all. Beyond that, there is no amount of remedy. If for that only, 2 case laws are there: Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narain, and number 2, Lily Thomas case. In both these areas, whenever a person has been subjected to some corrupt practices, whatever it may be, from A to F, whatever they are doing, if they are being identified, then those people will be subjected to removal for sure. These are the provisions available. This is the input we are supposed to give. Sir, these inputs are there. Suppose if I do not give these input, if I do not break the question into 3 and give the answer, what will happen? obviously my score will not be appropriate to my answer. You are addressing only one area, corrupt practices as such available. You don't mention about High Court, Supreme Court, you don't write about the case laws as such. At last, you will not get the answer for sure. So, one factor which you need to remember always in case of this examination is that whenever you are giving a question based on the polity, three facts are very much important. So, number one, we have to go for utilizing the articles to give the answer. That is very much essential. Number two, we have to utilize the case laws, whatever has been made by High Courts and Supreme Court. Sir, like state of in a state of Gujarat versus Vishaka. So what happened to that? Which year? Supreme Court citation 1955. All those numbers not required. If you know that right to privacy is one of the fundamental right under Article 21 guaranteed as per Puttaswamy case, that is enough to write in the exam. See, I am repeating on this area. Do not get complicated. Don't write verses and all. So it is not like who is the petitioner, who is the respondent, which year, which is citation. You are not going to the court to argue. You are writing the answer, a general studies answer. In that, mentioning the bare name of the case is enough. This will do large amount of justice than giving some input in which the answer is not appropriate. So always be specific on this area. Do not have any amount of ambiguity. Articles over, case laws over. And sometimes some amount of policy decisions taken by the government, if you are able to remember, please include that also. Some policies they will be having, right? A government also, executive body will create some policy. Mention that. Article, case law, policy. With these, if you write an answer, I promise you, you will get a wonderful score in the exam. For that only, I am just brainstorming you to think in this perspective. It is not that these questions will again come in the mains examination, you can get wonderful score. No, that is not the intention. And here it is not to, like a spoon feed, come on, these are the areas. No, not like that. These are the insights. Now you will be having a thought framework, how my answer should look like. And in these inputs, if you give, that is enough to proceed forward, right? Okay. Now, after completing this, I just want to give one more information. So now there is the GS and optional batches are going on. So here Sriram's IAS along with Unacademy, both of them hand in hand, are now having the batches, and there is a flat 25% offer also. And here the input relating to these things can be taken, and you can just contact the admin also, because 17th of June 2023 will be the last day to avail this offer. And now we are having 1 year course, so integrated 1 year course, and this course will be handled wherein which 100% of the entire syllabus will be covered, and batch is commencing on 22nd of June as such. So these are the area relating to the commencement of batches. Do just remember. Right. Next one, question number 6. So here, what is there relating to the aspect of question? Discuss the essential condition for exercise of legislative powers by governor. Discuss the legality of re-promulgation of ordinances by the governor without placing them before the legislature. See, these questions are having some base. It is not like I am giving you a question just like that and the inputs are coming to you. It is purely based on some amount of value system. Here, the logic is there are certain states where irritation is increasing. For example, you take the aspect of the state of Tamil Nadu, right? So, Tamil Nadu is having a very big problem relating to the aspect of governor. So, in case of TN, governor issue is creating a big problem. So, governor is acting like an independent authority, and the council of ministers with chief minister is having a trouble. Likewise, in case of Delhi, we have a problem relating to the aspect of how to take care of these issues. How to proceed in case of these topics, we have a big amount of issue. Keeping in these issues in mind, UPSC has framed the question paper. Discuss the conditions for exercise of legislative power. You all know, generally speaking, when we write answer to this question, how to approach, I'll tell you. Before that, a small amount of crux relating to the term called as legislative power and how we are utilizing this term. So we are having executive power, so judicial power, then financial power, then legislative power. These powers are available to the governor. President is having more amount of power. So legislative power, judicial power, executive power, financial power, military power, diplomatic power, emergency power, other power. So many powers president is having, governor is having some 4 powers in general. Now, when this power can be exercised? Always remember, India is a democratic nation. We are not as such going by any amount of authoritarian rule and all. So we are doing things in a very comfortable manner. Therefore, we follow some amount of procedure. Nobody can just violate the law, including President of India. So when we can use legislative power? Legislative power means, simply speaking, law making power. You all know legislature, executive. Executives are those people like Prime Minister, Council of Ministers, who sit inside the Parliament of India to make a law. And the place where they sit to make a law will be regarded as legislature. So legislature means law making. Law making power when governor can do. Number 2, whether this law making power or the ordinances, what we call as something based on urgent demand, on emergency ground, when ordinance are being made, can we just re-promulgate the ordinance again and again? Generally speaking, any law needs approval of respective house, whether in the state means state legislature, center means Parliament of India. Question is based on governor, so purely on state aspect. Whether the state government needs to give its consent, or just like that again and again they can bring the ordinances into picture. This is the question. Now we are very much clear on the aspect of question, and from here we'll just move on to know the answer for this question in a comfortable manner. Number 1, intro for this topic, how you should do. Now question is based on the aspect of legislation, and legislative powers are being available to the governor. Article 154 is speaking on that. Now again, 2 choice to you. If answer is based on the article, wonderful, score will be really exemplary. But we cannot every time guarantee the article right. Exam pressure, 3 hours of time, need to fill 20 questions as such. We might forget the answer, no problem. If answer based on article comes, you make in mind 1 mark bonus. Otherwise, reduce the mark. That's it. Now we have to move forward for the aspect of powers of governor. And now what is legislature? So legislature power is a special power given to governor to make laws, and these laws are equivalent to the laws made by state legislature. And governor can make law only on those subjects in which state legislature can make law, and he cannot violate that. Very simple, no? So interaction should be based on this. There's no amount of blah blah story and all. Straight away hit on the head formula. You give the input, you proceed forward, and you give the answer. So now first point is clear. Governor is having the power to make legislation, and governor is more concerned with respect to these areas. So power of governor for legislation is now pretty well sure. There is no doubt in that. And article 154 is empowering the governor in these aspects of legislation. So first intro part is over. Always speaking, intro part needs to be of a high appealing content, so that your marks are always the best. Right. So in this area, please ensure that the input is given on these things. How generally students will give the answer, I'll tell you. They will start writing about ordinances. What do you mean by ordinance? President of India is having the power of ordinance as per article 123. Governor is having the power of ordinance as per article 213. The ordinance will differ based on these input. President will make ordinance like this, governor will make ordinance like this, and they will start fill the paper. After some point of time, they will not know what is the demand of the question and what is the answer they are giving. We need to be precise. So here, first give the respect to the question. They're asking the conditions for legislative power. No, you speak on that. Only when you speak on that, you are dividing the question and getting the mark appropriately. Otherwise speaking, you will get a mark which is not subjected to the demand of the question, or the supply made by you will not be appreciated. So now we are very much clear. So we know that we need to go by the aspect of awarding the question based on the input. Now 154 is giving the power of legislation, and governor is having the power to legislation, which means lawmaking power. Lawmaking power is something, a power which cannot happen, like concurrently. It's a parallel power. Whatever power the state legislature is having, governor is having. But concurrently, both cannot happen, right? So that input you mentioned, so that you are conveying the message that I know the question pretty well. Now, when governor can use the power? That's the first question. When there is a possibility for the governor to use the power. That is what question is also asking, when the governor can use the legislative power. Here, always, like how I divide, you too divide the question, give the heading and give the answer so that your score is getting a good amount of respect. So now, the heading for this topic is when governor can use the power for legislation. When this possibility is there for him. Number one, whenever there is Article 352 or 356 in operation. 352 national emergency. 356 president rule, otherwise called as state emergency. When these things are there, at that time the governor is having the power to proceed for legislation. He can make laws and that laws will be in operation. So before going into this, I just want to convey a small amount of message relating to ordinance power so that you will be having the comfort to remember the input. Ordinance making power. What is ordinance making power? Generally, making of law is not the duty of governor. Governor will never have the duty to make a law. Making of law is the duty of legislature. So governor, why he should be worried on these things? So governor is subjected to usage of these law only based on certain conditions. At that time, the word ordinance comes into picture, and this is getting mentioned in case of Article 213 of Constitution of India. So here he can make an ordinance. So obviously speaking, the legislatures in the state can be two, bicameral or unicameral. When there are two houses, it will be called as bicameral, legislative assembly, legislative council. When only one house is there, it will be called as unicameral. So unicameral means only one house will be there. And now it is in emergency, national emergency or president rule or state emergency. Now house is not able to come to meet. Now we need to make a law on an urgent subject. We can't wait for somebody to come and all. So now what to do? At this point of time, whenever there is any amount of doubt arising in this area, to address this doubt, we can move forward to make a law. First thing, when 352 or 356 is in operation, the governor is empowered to make a law. 352 means what? National emergency. 56 means president rule. Just write that. That's enough. With this, your answer is having a good beginning. Number two, whenever the assembly is not in session. So assembly is also bound to have sessions. No, there is a small hint to remember. I'll give you in the class itself. So somewhere do just mark and keep it. BMW car. Just remember, budget session, monsoon session, winter session. 3 sessions are there in right chronology. So BMW. So even the assembly is not in session, because between 2 sessions, no, there will be some amount of break. At that time, there is an urgent demand to proceed forward. Again, calling all MLAs, reassembling them in the state legislature, making the bill will demand good amount of time. And if we are not able to bear that cost, then we have to go for the aspect of making the law. Same. What assembly can do, that only governor also can do. So how we can proceed for that? Whatever the state legislature is empowered to do, that only the governor can do. He can't make a law on a subject in which state legislature is not empowered. A very simple example. If you take in case of India, defense will be coming under the aspect of entry in union list. In union list it is there, only parliament is empowered to make a law. State cannot make any amount of law. If governor wants to promulgate a law or promulgate an ordinance on defense, then that is impermissible. So he cannot do that. He can do only based on how it is being done by state legislature. Now, next question. Sir, one time ordinance came. What is the time for the ordinance to be approved by the legislature? Generally speaking, legislature or the state legislative assembly, they have to meet minimum 2 times in a year. So worst case, they will meet for 6 months once. Again, they will meet for another 6 months. So suppose if there is a great amount of extension, even if they are not meeting, they will meet at the end of 6 months. No, so 6 months plus 6 weeks is the highest time available for an ordinance to get approved. Now they are meeting on the 6th month, but they are not able to pass the ordinance. Again, the governor is using the tool of ordinance to continue the same law. At that time, what will happen, whether it is correct or not, when a question comes, for that the only test we need to apply is the test of public interest. Whenever there is any amount of public interest available, when people are being subjected to some welfareism because of the ordinance, you are being permitted to proceed forward. If that is not there, then you cannot go for making the ordinance. And then please understand, this is not a discretionary power. Always based on the aid and advice given by the chief minister with council of ministers, governor can proceed forward for ordinance making. He can't just like that make an ordinance whenever he wishes to. He needs to follow these protocol. Otherwise speaking, ordinances cannot be made by the governor. Now, DC Vadava case and Krishna Kumar case, two case laws are there which are very important. In this DC Vadava and Krishna Kumar case, the Supreme Court of India have made some observation. They have declared that repromulgation of ordinances by way of bypassing the legislative rule or legislative procedure is highly subjected to unconstitutional behavior. When you are repromulgating the ordinance again and again only to avoid the legislature's approval, then you are doing some amount of crime. And for that, the Supreme Court declared in both these cases, if you repromulgate an ordinance without fulfilling the condition to get the approval from the respective state legislature, we will not have any hesitation, we will cancel the ordinance made by you. So ordinances are subjected to judicial review, right? It is not something immune from that. Whenever there is any amount of ordinances, people can be subjected to judicial review. They can cross check it and they can come to a conclusion whether to accept or not to accept. When simply you want to bypass these things, no, they have a right to declare these laws as null and void. Conclusion. How to write the conclusion or the way forward? So something should be there now at the end. And here one important message which I just want to share with everyone is, in the element of conclusion, please always remember this is one important area where score will be awarded. Because after reading a conclusion only they decide what marks we need to give it to you. When they are coming to this part, one logic is quite simple. What is that? We need to understand that this area should not be a simple statement. Hence all the above given statements are right. Therefore these are the powers available to governor. If you write like this, this is not a conclusion. I will tell this is a disaster. Because you have given some answer which is not fulfilling the demand of the question. You have simply given something to satisfy someone, but that is not the end game here. So we need to be more proactive. So what to give here? Governor is an agent of the center and he cannot misuse the ordinance making law just because of some vested interest. And more importantly, we need to have a clear clarification relating to the ordinance making power. Otherwise, the misuse may continue, resulting in derailing of constitutional morality in this world's largest functioning democracy. You give this answer, then you will definitely find the comfort in scoring. See, this is not the final one. Still, you can give some more inputs also. I'm just giving you some input and even you can fine tune it to a better extent and give the answer. So, some introduction relating to the question. So, they are proceeding with the aspect of the legislative power when we can use. I have told you all the grounds. Number 2, what is the legality? It is not legal because when there is a public interest, when there is a demand, then you can go for utilizing these things. When public demand is not there, when you are not having any amount of urgency to give these things, then suppose if you are using ordinance route only to bypass the legislative procedure, it means you are playing with the Constitution of India. It is equivalent to violating the Constitution. Hence, your particular law or ordinance, whatever has been made by you, can be declared as null and void. So, in this topic, you see, governor power is getting justified. Opening statement is the powers of the governor for legislation. So here we get a very good amount of clarity. So powers of governor for legislation, and what do you mean by that? That is very much important. See, anything and everything you write in the examination, do write a small two-liner explanation for that. When you give that explanation, no, that will give you a comfort from the examiner point of view, and he will feel that, come on, he is addressing the question with due respect. Follow that. Then I told you article. Article, if you are able to remember, you write. If you are not able to remember, please don't write any amount of wrong article, because examiner will know the articles for sure. At least they'll give some, like a model, blueprint, or some key, or some amount of expertise will be having in the question. Instead of 154, you write 281. That article will have no amount of relevance. You are writing something about the finance commission, distribution of fund, all those things. In that case, your answer might get rejected. Do not take that risk. That cannot be subjected to acceptance. So here we are pretty well sure relating to the aspect of answer writing in this area. Now next question. Question number 7. Discuss the role of Election Commission of India in the light of evolution of Model Code of Conduct, MCC. I think most of you would be aware of this term, MCC, Model Code of Conduct. I'll brief you and proceed for the answers. Model Code of Conduct. It's a very important tool to ensure that elections are happening in a free and transparent manner. Just like that, elections cannot be conducted in thin air. For that, we need to work in such a manner that elections are being subjected to good amount of transparency. Any elections which is not subjected to transparency is not healthy for democracy. And to bring that only, we have introduced MCC. And please understand, this is something evolved by Election Commission of India, and there is no mentioning regarding this in the Constitution of India. The architect of Indian Constitution or the drafting committee chairman B.R. Ambedkar was not the person subjected to this particular usage. And here the Election Commission of India and the evolution of MCC, let's see how to write the answer. First thing, write about Election Commission of India. Election Commission of India is the body responsible for conduct of elections for the state legislature and parliament, and it is a constitutional body which ensures free and fair election. First line, you give this. First thing, address the question in right perspective. I think by seeing all these questions, you will have some fair idea what not to write. Then what to write will come to you automatically. I'm pretty well sure on that. At least you will have a grip relating to what not to write. So here, write about ECI, Election Commission of India. So ECI is a constitutional body. Sir, so I don't remember articles. Okay, somewhere if article 324, 325, 326 comes to your mind, write it. Otherwise, no problem. Just leave it off. Write about Election Commission of India. At least you know it is a constitutional body, right? Do mention that point. Election Commission of India is a constitutional body which has been mandated to conduct the elections for the parliament and state legislature and ensure a free, fair and transparent elections to these bodies in the entire nation. First two lines enough. After that, it saying that it is a one-member body, it became multi-member body, age was reduced from 21 to 18, they went for 61st Amendment Act 1988, it came into force in 1989. All these things are unwanted stuff. I think you will be having some grip in this area. When I am giving these inputs are facts which is known to everyone. Now a question is coming, Election Commission of India. Come on, I will write everything whatever I know. That will not be idea. See, simply speaking, you are going to a hotel to order food. The food what you are ordering, if they are giving monotonously the same menu again and again, won't you feel tired as such? The same logic holds good here. You give variety to the examiner. Make his eyes pleased and satisfied. He will do the justice what he is supposed to do. You do not go and beg mark and all. Someone, sir, please give me mark and all. I'm coming from poor family. No, all those things not required. Straight away address the question, you will get the score. So now I am saying that limit your answer. Trimming the answer matters here. See, successful candidate is one who knows what to write, what not to write. It is not everything what I know I will reproduce in the examination. That is the most disastrous step ever an aspirant can take. So do remember this. So number 2, what do you mean by MCC? So Model Code of Conduct is a set of guidelines which is being subjected to a consensual decision. Major parties are being involved, they are being made into a debate and discussion by Election Commission of India. After consensus, they bring MCC into picture. And then factual data. Suppose if you know, MCC started in case of Kerala in 1960 and for Parliament of India in 1962. These two facts can be supplemented if you know that. Otherwise, sir, two datas I don't know. Third and fourth, what you are saying is new to me. I don't know. Leave it. When I'm saying leave it, it is not that I'm just like telling that little information what you have is enough. I'm saying do not get palpitated when some information is unknown to you. You might not know some information, and even topper paper when you check, no, these inputs might not be there. That doesn't mean he is not a topper. No, still by giving the facts known to him, he has scored the highest mark. So some information what is not known to you, do not get panicked, because whenever we discuss some answers, no, the way of answer writing in the mains examination, there are many inputs given by candidates. Sir, many inputs are there, these and all we haven't read in the Lakshmikant book. Yes, many Lakshmikant book would not as such provide you. At that point of time, we need to understand that some inputs, maybe facts and figures, we hunt from various newspapers and other sources. In that scenario, if the third and fourth point is unknown to you, don't worry. At least first two facts when you write in the intro, that is more than sufficient with respect to answer writing. Do not go for anything more than that. That will be comfortable to proceed forward in general. Now coming to the body, the main area. So now use of MCC and misuse of MCC. So Model Code of Conduct is being utilized for ensuring a good election, and this MCC, when implemented in true spirit, shall result in bringing democracy with the real essence of democracy. But there are chances that the ruling party might use the MCC, or the MCC will be misused by some officials to curtail the opposite party or opposing party in general, and they might reap the benefit by utilizing these MCCs. This is the first thing which we need to write. Write the plus point, write the minus point. That flow when it is there, no, in the answer writing, that is something really awesome. Yeah, writing some plus and giving an immediate minus for that is a very wonderful way of giving the answer. That will be marvelous, where the students will be subjected to a good amount of knowledge which they manifest to the exam. Number 2, one of the biggest issue relating to MCC is MCC is not binding on the members. Model Code of Conduct is not binding. So we don't have any constitutional provision for those things and all. So here MCC is subjected to a great amount of non-binding nature, like how National Human Rights Commission, whenever these bodies are there, no, when they are doing something, National Human Rights Commission, their recommendations are not binding. Government may take action or they may refrain also from taking action. Likewise, MCC is also not having the binding impact, which is again a negative point. Because when something is not binding, no, all will not have a fear to fall. Why people have some fear to do things is based on the impact of binding. Certain things are very stringent, we cannot tolerate, then people will obey it. When such a binding nature is not available, who will come and have all these fear factor? So one of the issue is it is not binding. And number 2, MCC is also having a use. That means I can say it is having a plus point. And same, it can be misused also. That is the negative point. And number 3, Election Commission of India controls elections through MCC. So we have to celebrate MCC. Question is asked based on MCC. They never ask right only about the flaws of MCC. No. So we have to celebrate the aspect of MCC. The Model Code of Conduct is being subjected to a great amount of tool by which elections are being held in a very transparent manner, resulting in great amount of prosperity. So when this message is getting conveyed, then again it's a big amount of success. Election Commission of India is able to proceed forward and they are able to get the things done via MCC. So this is again a subject which needs celebration. At last, when there is a great amount of violation, the Election Commission of India, using their suo motu power, they can cancel the candidature, or at last they can give some subtle mild warning for those people involved in violation of this provision. Then number 5, MCC if is coming into picture, or MCC if it is having the presence, we can ensure free and fair election. Again, I am celebrating the MCC. You see how the answers are there. First I am celebrating, then I am opposing, then celebrating, then I am giving a factual information. Come on, it is not having any amount of binding impact. At last I am saying there are some examples in the past where violation of MCC resulted in a subtle warning, or sometime when the commission of offence is too grave, the candidature also get cancelled. And number 5, I am mentioning that MCC will be giving free and fair election. Elections are always subjected to free and fair manner. People come to the polling booth with good amount of trust and confidence, so they are able to proceed forward. And then prevent all offences. That's very important, because they have micro observer, they have all flying squad working in MCC, so major offences can be controlled. I'll give you one live example to make this topic very clear. Once state election commissioner, I don't want to mention the name of the state, in one particular state, election commissioner, if he is going on the western side, on eastern side people went and gave money. If he is coming on eastern side, they went to the western side. If he is coming on both the side, they went to north and south, distributed the money. At last, when asked to election commission of that particular state, sir, what is your opinion regarding election and the malpractice, he said only God can save this country. So offences can be controlled, but we don't give a guarantee that 100% we can control everything. We don't give 100% promise, but here and there certain things can be controlled. And most importantly, egalitarian perspective will be installed into the minds of people the moment MCC comes into picture. Come on, all are equal. Ruling party, opposition party, all are equal. There is no amount of difference. And the person who has won the election after the emergence of MCC would have really won the election only based on merit. There is no amount of malpractice as such possible, as MCC is again considered to be a strong foundation controlling these elements. Now, what are the issues or concern regarding this topic? Number 1, non-compliance. Many people do not know what do you mean by MCC. They don't know what is MCC. When they don't know what is MCC, who will bother to know about MCC? Nobody will bother. When they don't know that there is something called as MCC, when they don't comply with that, then what is the purpose of giving MCC? MCC per se will become ideal only when people realize the value. When people, they themselves are not bothered to know about these things, then the question relating to MCC having any significant impact will never happen. This is very important area. And this, as such, non-compliance hardly has any impact. Whatever you say, whatever you discuss, whatever you come with a conclusion, hardly has any amount of value system. People never get anything in their mind so strongly. They are very much, concerned only about using some unfair means. What MCC is there, why we should not involve in corrupt practices, what government is saying, no knowledge is there. At last, no power to check on non-implementation. That is also there. Non-information or non-implementation, some power should be there, very minimal. Election Commission of India as such cannot, use a magical wand and all to control these things. They can as such do things to a large extent. At last, even they fail. And there is no method available to spread or available to control the spread of false information. Fake news, what we call in general, this false information, it is getting spread to a largest extent. When these problems are repeating for a kind information, we are unable to proceed forward, resulting in great amount of failure of MCC. So now MCC question, we are pretty well sure what are the problems. See the question. Discuss the role of Election Commission of India in the light of evolution of MCC. We spoke about ECI, we spoke about MCC, we gave factual data, we spoke about the issue relating to the main question, what MCC and what ECI are in general. Then we spoke about the entire plus and minus of MCC. Then we spoke about the issues or concern which MCC is having. If these are being addressed, obviously India can give a very successful amount of image to the world that our elections are 100% foolproof system, and there is no amount of tampering as such being made by any person in general. This input we can definitely give. I think there is no amount of doubt in this, right? So with this we just move on to the next question. Question number 8. How have the recommendations of 14th Finance Commission of India enabled the states to improve their fiscal position? See, this question is based on the impact of 14th Finance Commission and the states to improve their fiscal position. Fiscal means something relating with the aspect of money, right? So fiscal policy means something relating to the aspect of in the financial year. So money can be obtained via two means. So we will be having tax based income, then we will be having non tax based income. All those things are possible. So how the element of finance commission is helping the states to improve their fiscal position? Sir, for this question, how to proceed for the answer, right? Simply speaking, we need to know what is finance commission. I just tell you how students might give an answer to this question which may not give them the mark. They will start celebrating the finance commission. Finance commission is a constitutional body. It is consisting of one chairman, 4 member. One chairman should have this qualification. In the 4 member, one should be retired high court judge or that equivalent qualification. One should be financial expert. Other should be in the element of accounting department. One should be expert in the economics. Then they will write starting from first finance commission KC Niyogi to the recent finance commission all the chairman's name. And then they will say finance commission will distribute the tax between center and state. They will do everything said by President of India. They may also help the aspect of the state to consolidate their fund so that they can give more fund to the respective local bodies. After giving all those things, by doing these provisions, the so-called finance commission has improved the status of the states in terms of their fiscal position. Hence answer is over. This will be an answer. And this possibility is definitely there among the aspirants community, because at times they whenever they see a question which is known to them, they jump into answer writing. That is absolutely wrong. Please understand, you are not supposed to give the answer by jumping by seeing only few terms. Read the question fully. They are very specific. 14th Finance Commission, how it is helping to improve the fiscal position of the state, that is the question. And they are pretty well clear that this question needs to be answered in this perspective, not other way around. So we need to know what 14th Finance Commission has done. Then only answer can be given. Otherwise speaking, if you write something about the Finance Commission here and there, you will not get the mark what you are expecting. So this point is again very clear. See, I take variety of questions only to ensure that you also fall in the same line of understanding. I don't just take questions on monotonous manner. I take something from factual data, from constitutional issue, all other matters, only to tell that when a question comes, do not give the answer like how you are thinking, rather try to frame the answer within this box. Right? So now we'll just go for the intro. How I will give intro for this question? What do you mean by Finance Commission? Very simple. Finance Commission, a constitutional body, is being given the mandate to advise on the division of tax between central government and the state government on the divisible pool of tax. Some amount of revenues are there which center will not share with the state. For example, cess. Whatever cess they collect, they need not share with the state. That and all we cannot ask Finance Commission to share. So what word I used? All divisible pool of taxes. Divisible pool means certain amount of taxes which can be divided and given to these states. Is that over? Yes, I am done. Article 280 of the Constitution of India deals with Finance Commission. If I know, I can write. And this I think everybody will know. There is no amount of doubt in that. Any person who has read Polity to a large extent will remember 280 will deal about the Finance Commission. My intro is so. Next point, I should not go into the member qualification appointment. 5 years when they do the appointment, president will do all those things, not required. Chairman should be expert in public affair. All those things are complete irrelevant data. Maybe Finance Commission will have that inputs in the chapter, but we need not write everything. Finance Commission, we have spoken to them. So we have conveyed in the first three, what is Finance Commission, what they are doing, and which article will deal about them, and what is their main duty. We have conveyed. Insights of that, should I go through? Completely not required. Insights of those things, when you are as such penetrating, it will deviate the answer, ignore it. Now, how 14th Finance Commission is more helpful? So what is this, sir? This is hit on the head. Straight away, I go to the treasure point. I don't, beat around the bush. No amount of tautology I am using, that is beating around the bush to give the same input. I am giving you the answer in a very crisp and transparent manner. It's very crisp. So straight away I am telling about the 14th Finance Commission, how they are more helpful to ascertain the issue. So this we need to understand. After going this, we have to just recollect the facts on how this issue is going to help you. So Finance Commission as such, how it is going to help you. Where and how this Finance Commission is going to make the states have more amount of independence. Because the question says how the states will be improving their fiscal position. How Finance Commission is going to facilitate that. That is the question. Question is not about the functioning of Finance Commission. That is separate. Finance Commission is somehow helping. How it is helping? As they have utilized the word Finance Commission, I respect that. I give some inputs in the initial line, intro line. Then I have to jump into the main part of the question, which is called as how 14th Finance Commission is a unique Finance Commission to help these things to happen in a very comfortable manner. So intro part over. Now main issue. Compensation to the states. From 32% they have increased it to 42%. So if there is a revenue of, let's say, 100 rupees, they will give 42 rupees to the state. Sir, 42 means for how many states, sir? For 28 states, they will give the 42 rupees based on the parameters what they have fixed. So population, green cover, fiscal distance, many inputs they are having as factors to follow. So based on that, they will do. First advantage is that compensation to the states got enhanced to a large extent. More amount of funding is being given to them, more amount of money is being shared to them, which is again a celebrating aspect of this Finance Commission. Number 2, 14th Finance Commission has given a new insight on performance grant. So now, like corporate body, we have installed these values. The more you perform better, the more are the chances to get more money. So by doing this, states will be eager to follow the fiscal discipline. They will try to maintain the fiscal discipline, and they will ensure that we have to get the element of performance grant. See, normally in school days also we have 100 days, if you, 100% if you have attendance in the school, they'll give you 5,000 rupees reward. 5,000 money is not a matter, but the reward what they are giving, when we get it, we always have a feel that we are a winner. So that feel now Finance Commission has installed into the minds of state, so they will definitely follow that to a large extent. Then number 3, grant for disaster. Again a new amount of input which was not there earlier. So we are being subjected to natural disaster and man-made disaster to a large extent. Earlier and all, when disaster is there, the state has to take care of all those things, and sometimes the state feels like completely exhausted. They don't have the fund to manage all these disasters, but now there is a new amount of provision available where grant is being given for the disaster also. And then revenue deficit. So I think this term is known to you. Excess of revenue expenditure over the revenue receipt. I'll tell you with a very simple example. What is this? For instance, you are having the transport department. And transport department, the total revenue from all the bus, the fleet, what you are having. Let's say it is 10,000 crore is your revenue from that particular transport department. Expenditure for that department, payment of salary, maintenance of bus, fuel expenditures, all those things, maintenance of bus, everything, is against 14,000 crore. 10,000 crore revenue, 14,000 crore expenditure. Now deficit in this case is 4,000 crore. When 4,000 crore becomes a deficit, then what will happen? The state will have some amount of difficulty to manage it. So on certain parameters, revenue deficits of the state also will be taken care by the center. So now the states are feeling more comfortable. You see, these are the key terms available. The key terms, whatever I am saying one by one, that needs to be incorporated in the answer writing. If you do that, then definitely speaking, you will have a good amount of score in the exam. So this point, be very specific and clear. And now there is a great amount of fund. 5.3 lakh crore is the whooping amount which is been earmarked for next 5 years. The 14th Finance Commission tenure of 5 years, they are granting 5.3 lakh crore, which is really speaking an awesome amount. This much of funding they are going to give, which will be divided for next 5 years, where states will get good amount of benefit. Then tax devolution. What is tax devolution? Generally, taxes are considered to be the revenue aspect of government. Any government without tax cannot survive. If they need to survive, then they should be having great amount of natural resources, limited population, then they not go for taxes at all. But even rich nations like America, they are having high amount of taxes. So we can't say that taxes will not be there in developed nation. Every nation has. So very few countries are exemption for that in some Gulf nations. Otherwise speaking, taxes are quintessential. Without taxation, we can't survive. In this case, the tax devolution, the power to make taxes on many headings have been given to the state. Now state is having the power to make taxes. When taxes are being allowed, they get good amount of revenue. The moment good revenue comes to them, they are able to survive. And these are the major area which creates a good amount of opportunity, which in turn promotes the states to have good physical position. CSS delinked, centrally sponsored scheme delinked. So now there is no compulsion. Certain schemes are there where center will give 70%, state will give 30%, 70-30 or 75-25 or 80-20. In some percentage, they used to go for schemes. Now there is no amount of CSS. Might be, it can be said as a burden also. The fiscal position of the state will get disturbed because of this. There are many a chance that this may create some hindrance also as such. So this is one negative point in this 14th Finance Commission. But divisible pool really got increased. That's again a whooping number. 32 to 42, 10% jump and all, nowhere we have seen in the past Finance Commission. So this time there is a remarkable amount of increase in case of the tax, which is getting divided to the states in case of India. Right? So these inputs are sufficient to give the answer to the question how or what recommendations of 14th Finance Commission has enabled the states to improve their fiscal position. So this input is pretty well clear. Now question number 9, how to proceed for this area. Constitutional morality is rooted in the Constitution itself and is founded on its essential facets. Explain the doctrine of constitutional morality with the help of relevant judicial decisions. This is the question asked here. A very simple and straightforward question is this. Here, I just want to make certain things very clear to you. See, when a question comes of this type, no, immediately don't think constitutional morality. I don't know the word. I can't give the answer. I will leave it. If you do like that, it is a big amount of harm. I'll tell you how to find the answer within the question itself. See, here we are having the input, constitutional morality. So we know pretty well what is this constitutional morality in general. See the line, constitution, the basic law of the land. Morality is the element of things which we are not supposed to do whenever we are being given the independence to do our work. That becomes the aspect of constitutional morality. In this area, the logic is quite simple. The morality of the constitution is there in the foundation or in the basic constitutional book itself. The constitution, the draft or the bare act itself is having many principles which we need to follow. Now, how the constitutional morality is being preserved by judiciary? That is the question. We may have certain things like liberty, equality, fraternity, secularism, justice. These many inputs are there. I'm just giving you few facts only. When these many facts are there, how these are being preserved? Is there any amount of method to preserve these things and how to proceed for this area? That is the simplest question we are having. And for that, let's begin how to go for the answer. Initially speaking, what should be the answer? First thing, define the term constitutional morality. That's very much essential. Constitutional morality results in upholding the values of constitution without any amount of compromise. Very simple. Constitutional morality means we have to uphold the values of constitution. There's no amount of doubt in that. And when we are being subjected to celebrating the constitutional morality, we will respect the Constitution of India. We will try to work within the four walls of constitution. We will never try to just penetrate into non-constitutional activities. That is when the statement begins as such. From there, explain some features of constitution. I told you, no, some features, like whatever features you have read in the entire Constitution of India, you can write everything. Or just remember the word preamble. That is enough to proceed to ensure that the terms are being used. Sovereignty, secularism, democratic, republic, justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. All these terms can be employed, and these can be said as some of the signature features of Indian Constitution. After mentioning that, we can tell the aspect of living document. Many are asking this, sir, what is living document? Let me brief on this area. Living document is something which we need to, as such, do the content based on our brief observation. Our Constitution of India is not a dead document. That is the first point I just want to enlighten here. What do you mean by dead document? Something which cannot be changed will be called as a dead document. You can't do anything over there. That is something which is highly subjected to just a museum material. You will be in the museum. So many books you have seen in museum. No amount of change. Nobody will touch it. It will be inside the glass cover. A book will be there. That's all. That is called as the aspect of dead document. That is not Constitution of India. Ambedkar, B.R. Ambedkar, the drafting committee chairman, has given the provision of amendability. He has said, you amend the constitution based on time and space. Whenever there is a requirement, you amend it. That is why we call our constitution as a living document. It is permitting the aspect of amendability. It is not rigid. It is not as such giving any amount of rigid statement. So we need to be more cautious on this input. And this particular word, constitutional morality, is a pure judicial doctrine. It is not something given in the Constitution of India. You see the beauty. We are talking about constitutional morality, but that word doesn't have a mentioning in the Constitution. It is highly a doctrine which has been invoked by judiciary. The judiciary has only invoked these terms as such. Therefore, we are able to identify that this is a document, it is a doctrine which is getting promoted by judiciary. Intro in your answer, if examiner sees these points, tell me who will reduce the mark? They will definitely not have a thought also to reduce the mark for sure. Anybody for that matter. Anybody, he is maybe optimistic, a pessimistic person. Anybody who evaluates your paper will give you the score what is required based on this input. Now, explain the Kesavananda Bharati case. That is the landmark judgment in which, like 13 benches, they sat together to decide the element of constitutionality of a particular problem. So now a question comes whether parliament is powerful or judiciary is powerful. So parliament, if I say judiciary is not powerful, then it will undervalue judiciary. If I say judiciary is powerful, then parliament will not remain silent. We are people representative. How can you tell that we are not powerful? Therefore, in Kesavananda Bharati case, Supreme Court has given a wonderful doctrine that without altering the basic structure, you can amend the fundamental right, and any other laws are also subjected to amendability. So parliament is having the power to amend the constitution. But what do you mean by basic structure? They haven't said even till date. So they decide based on the various amount of laws made by Parliament of India and then come to a conclusion whether this is within the basic structure or not. Now, Kesavananda Bharati case is one input where Supreme Court has reasserted the values of constitutional morality. it has again reconfirmed the message that we stick on to the aspect of constitutional morality. Number two, there are some principles of constitution, like I told you in the preamble: sovereign, socialistic, secularism, justice, liberty, equality, democracy, republic, fraternity. All these terms indicates that our constitution is having these value. Law made by any person as such should not be subjected to these points being deviated. By altering the sovereign nature of Indian nation, a law cannot be made, right? That provision nowhere is available. And then, even in case of Sabarimala or the NAS Foundation, recently we came to know that the supremacy of the constitution is being maintained. Whenever a question comes on religion or other area, even though some apprehensions are there, we don't stick on to that. We strongly say constitution is a supreme document, and violating that, if any law is being made by any authority, that will be declared null and void. And here, how to preserve these things? So here the issue is that state and citizen, both of them need to ensure that these morality are getting preserved. So now if you think only judiciary will come and help, not possible. State should also do, the citizen should also do. When both of them are working hand in hand, then only here there is a possibility. At last, even in the Puttaswamy case, the Honorable Supreme Court of India in Aadhaar card has declared that right to privacy is a fundamental right. Though they didn't say it is an absolute fundamental right, there are some apprehensions available, but still they are again and again re-ensuring that the constitutional values are being abided by the citizen by giving these judgments. So how to conclude the answer? So generally speaking, whenever there is any amount of like law getting implemented, that should be effective in nature. Just like that, making a law where people don't understand that hardly will make the purpose solved. So implementation of the law, if it is effective, so the constitutional value will be getting again internalized by the people. And whenever we follow constitutional morality, we have an advantage that arbitrary, ineffective, erratic laws, whatever the lawmakers in case of India make, those will be having a great amount of question mark. You can't make a law just like that. You need to follow these provisions. With these inputs, we can come to a grand satisfaction that the aspect of constitutional morality will preserve the Indian democracy in the days to come. Therefore, this doctrine, which has been invented by judiciary, is a welcome step to promote and preserve the largest democracy of the world. So do just mention these input, that will be giving you a final solution. And again, just I'll give you some input relating to the classes and other courses. So 25% offer is available before the 17th June 2023. Kindly utilize it. And again, we have a 1 year complete batch which commences on June 22nd of this year. So those who are interested, the mobile number is available here. Do call them. They will definitely do the best in terms of the procedure for admission, right? So thank you. Again, tomorrow we'll meet with rest of questions relating to polity mains answer writing.